My teacher touched me and went crazy for me. I used a brick to halt her. If this were a roller coaster, grab on tight, this is the Tower of Terror. It's also a pretty long story. It's important to remember that while the individual in issue may not be a Reddit user, her son most certainly is. I have altered names, locations, and details, and I will not discuss the subject's appearance. But I will tell you about a payback that was little at first, but has grown and continues to this day. At the age of 19, I attend a college in Canada where I study history. Since September, managing my emotions and physical health has been difficult for me. There are instances when patients must wait a long period for mental health therapies when healthcare is provided for free. Even despite taking medication, things were becoming worse for me. I discussed the situation with a staff member, Patricia, for the time being. She was kind and helpful at first, giving me extra time to finish my assignments and extra support throughout my exams. I passed the first term with a whopping 62%, which was very decent considering I hadn't attended many lectures. After Christmas break, things got so bad for me that I had to visit the hospital. I also struggled to turn in a lot of work and return to class on time. I was seeing the student support team from the university and the mental health team from the hospital. I own a distinct personality, illness that makes it challenging for me to control my emotions. Patricia was aware of this. She was going above and above what was required of her, though, and it was starting to get on my nerves. She volunteered to contact me 3 or 4 times a day and accompany me to my doctor's visits. After that, she began contacting me after obtaining my personal phone number from the university system. I check my messages far more often than my emails, so I figured knowing her phone number would be handy. That is a really bad concept. What started off as a simple confirmation of attendance at meetings soon evolved into a wish to see you again and a query about my personal life. What truly infuriated me was her appearance at my doctor's office after I informed her of my visit wasn't successful. She texted me 4 times saying, "I met the doctor. Where are you? And I'm not going to bother you 3 times before calling," even though I had hung up the first time. This was all while I was on the other side of town. Furthermore, she truly annoys me at the moment, even though it's obvious she cares about me. I was at the hospital on a regular basis trying to get my health back on track. Get a cystoscopy if you want to feel embarrassed. To check on how things were going, she texted me. I continued to receive the same antibiotics. When I tried to explain to the doctor that I had previously been taking them and that the pain hadn't subsided in months, I became a little irate and agitated. It wasn't enough, they told me, and I should leave without making a scene. When I revealed, "Stop arguing," she replied, winking at Patricia. Patricia's level of responsibility, the nature of the procedure, and the fact that the call was placed from her personal phone number made me think this was really impolite. It continued like this for several months. I was attempting to avoid her company. She continues to be useful in helping me finish my work, but I don't want her to become involved in my personal affairs. She makes repeated attempts. She has repeatedly assured me that since I haven't turned in any assignments, the university would decide whether to keep me or not by putting me through a fit-to-work process. I might get a ban or get suspended. Over time, this harmed my mental health and brought me a great deal of worry, following a meeting with the mental health services. That wasn't really helpful, and with a snarky remark at the bottom, I submitted the worst essay I've ever written. It's still fantastic that I received an 18%. Apparently, this wasn't the best approach to get even with Patricia, because she called me in for another meeting after requesting to attend my therapy sessions over the phone with my supervisor and mental health advisor, informing me that I was overcomplicating things. Patricia was a horrible person to meet. My back arched the moment she touched my knee, not in a sexual sense, mind you, but close enough to be uncomfortable. Despite her attempts to get me to withdraw from the submission, I refused. Then, if I didn't, she threatened to dismiss me or reprimand me. Greetings from mental blackmail. I made repeated attempts to clarify that I was having a difficult period and that I had to fight myself mentally every morning to get out of bed. Research, writing essays, complex arithmetic, and 12 classes a week are already challenging enough. I couldn't stop thinking about her when she said, "Having a mental health condition doesn't mean you're special. I had to go weekly therapy for 3 years in order to clear my thoughts, so by August, you ought to be good to go." By the end, I was stooped over, crying and furious. I have my head on my knees as I sit here. My legs stopped receiving blood for 40 minutes because I felt confined in her room. That's why it was that when I did get the courage to go, I could not bear it. Before I fell, I had gone approximately halfway across the room. I managed not to fall by holding onto the table. She rushed out of her chair and grabbed me by the back, acting as though she had just won the lottery. I took off as quickly as I could. She texted me at around 10 or 11 p.m. to let me know that it was crucial. Not to be overlooked is the payoff. I felt so angry that I decided to give this woman a severe hit. I collected together all of the emails and messages from the past year, took notes on each one, and assembled them into a folder demonstrating that I was actively seeking medical attention, something that ill students are required to do under university policy in the course of 8 hours. I dubbed the folder the brick as, should nothing happen, I intended to strike her with it. Something else was effective. This folder weighs at least 5 kg, so you can imagine the number of trees I had to cut down to do this. I responded to 3 distinct problems on a feedback form. There are forms for direct communication, blackmail, emails, and texts. There is also a form specifically for harassment. All right, Patricia was supposed to get this, but I was angry with her, so I delivered it to the dean. The first phase is finished. She reviewed her correspondence and presented her case for mistreatment in the second phase. They were going to keep me off the Fit to Work panel until I pulled the brick and emailed them 8 instances of my lack of professionalism, after having been informed for 5 months that I would be removed from it. My punishment was reduced to just suspension, which is beneficial for Phase 3, as it allows me to continue using the student union services and my university email account. During Phase 3, I made my matter to the university's legal department, threatening to file a lawsuit if I wasn't satisfied with the outcome. That's all, people. Patricia has taken a 6-month sick vacation, I can report, having successfully completed phases 1 and 2. Allow me to reveal the precise reason she was fired, rather than placed on sick leave. She should have been in my Fit to Work group, I assumed. 3 days after she went on sick leave, the entire staff was instructed not to contact her. They should use an online reporting mechanism that will be monitored more attentively if they need to contact her immediately. She said that she wouldn't respond. Emails due to her, quote, illness. She had requested me to write her 5,000-word articles, so that made me giggle. Even though I was extremely, really unwell, working with sensitive data and vulnerable students is a part of Patricia's job at the institution. This will leave a significant stain on her record, maybe costing her her job and making it difficult for her to obtain another in the same industry. Since then, I've dropped out of college due to health issues, which Patricia's actions most likely exacerbated. To put it briefly, I am harassed by my university professor in multiple ways, which is a severe issue. She is suspended and on the verge of firing after I protest and provide evidence for 8 months. There may be a court case. Wow, that's really scary. If there's a 5-kilogram brick of paper proof of bad behavior against you, I would say you're probably the problem and the jerk. Good program directors will stay on top of issues like this. While it's good for teachers to be aware of and concerned about their students' ongoing problems, you probably shouldn't get too involved in any one student's personal life beyond following up on referrals and reading what mental health professionals say, and provide time off or other options while remaining professional. Nevertheless, this ignores the fact that Patricia's actions go well beyond the worry of tutelage and directly into obvious obsession, stalking, and touching without permission. When the storyteller first read the passage about how she held you from behind as you were trying to leave, he actually pulled his legs up to his chest. This is so unacceptable in every way, and I'm not sure if she's a real attacker or just a lonely person acting inappropriately. Regardless, she shouldn't be in a situation where she can act on her good intentions in this way, even if they were pure. More students will experience this, and our brave author deserves recognition for persevering. You'll probably love Am I the Genius just as much as you loved Am I the Jerk? Click the link below to read it, and feel free to submit your own stories at amiththejerk.com/submit. I made you confront one of your greatest fears because you scared me with one of mine. All right. So my cousin plays practical jokes on me. She loves to joke that her dad, my uncle, is coming to pick me up. To be honest, my uncle isn't a nice guy. He yells at me and everyone else for everything. He makes fun of my weight and makes fun of my weight. His remarks are so irritating that I've pretty much rocked him, which means I don't give him any more time. And my cousin's fave joke is to say he's coming to pick me up to take me to family events, which I try to avoid when he's there, and 2 hours with him in the car? That is really hell? So she lied to me a few weeks ago when she said he called and would pick me up for my birthday. I thought I was having a panic attack, and I remember crying, hyperventilating, and walking back and forth as I tried to calm down. And yes, going to see him is that bad. My cousin then began to laugh. That's not funny, I told her. Don't you feel better now that you know he's not coming? She inquired since she is aware of my feelings regarding that guy. I still think about that joke. I'm over that joke now that I've had 2 weeks to get over it. I wanted to play a joke on her to get her attention. I thought of her greatest fear. Funny people. She's always been afraid of clowns. So I got a friend who is taller than 6 feet to dress up as a scary clown. I lied to her and told her I had a coupon for a free dinner for 2 at her favorite restaurant for her birthday. I did this to get her to help me. After we drove away, I had my clown set up. What a great idea. My friend parked his old, broken-down car in the ditch beside the road. I pulled over and told them we needed to investigate and see if they needed assistance. My clown comes out of an old barn and comes right towards us. She screamed and stopped, running to my car, but I got away before she could get in. No, I didn't leave her. I just drove over the hill where the old car was and watched her from behind the wheel. She tried to run after the clown, screaming for help, and when she saw him, she fell to her knees and started crying. He laughed, explaining that it was a joke, and as I drove back, we laughed together. I repeated that to her because she said it wasn't funny. She yelled and screamed at me the whole time we were in the car. I think I was scared to death. I told her that's how I feel about my uncle when she talks about him. I can only hear an internet chat saying, "Bro, it's just a hoax again." Repeatedly in my thoughts. Nevertheless, the cousin continued to. I worry a little about how difficult it must have been for the cousin to live with her uncle, unless her parents were divorced. He might have something to do with her mean behavior and her jokes. I can see how the author's joke turned these 2 people against each other, but I really hope that they learned from it and that they can stay in touch and only play jokes that don't hurt others' feelings in the future. Get back at my mean mother. She had no idea that I was the one who set the tone for this joke. Off the clink. It happened in 2004, when I was 14 years old. Before I begin, let me say that my mother is a bad person. Up until that point in my life, it was just verbal abuse. However, when I became 14, it became physical. I came up with clever ways to get even with her, like tampering with her food or leaving her toothbrush in the toilet every day. This story is one of my better, smaller ways of getting even with her, and it made her the angrier. Talking to my friends about what she had done to me was helpful, and they advised me to call the police, but I knew that wouldn't work. My mother is great at convincing people, but the last time I went to them, the police didn't believe me. Tom, one of my friends. The car was between the hub of the front wheel and the side of the engine, so I went to his house with him after school that day, and he showed me where to go and what to do, allowing me to engage in some small talk. It took a few days before I could finally get even, but the day arrived when my sister and mother rode their horses out of the house, giving me plenty of time to finish the job. In addition, my sister used to be her favorite child until her mom stopped treating her that way. Neverth. Every few seconds, there was a loud clink sound, and Mom questioned, "What the heck is that?" "I have no idea, Mom. You might want to have a mechanic look at it." Do you remember that I said Tom's dad works as a mechanic? We lived in a small town, and he was the only mechanic there. Tom told his dad about the things my mom did. As you might expect, he was on my side. After shopping, we took our car to the mechanic so they could look at it and fix whatever was broken. When we got to the shop, Mom said, "Hi there, my car is making a strange noise when I drive. Would you please check it out for me?" "That's great. How about you have a seat inside while I take a spin and make sure everything works?" "What's wrong?" He got in the car and drove around the block. When he returned, the noise had magically stopped. He took my mom's check and sent us on our way, not before Tom's dad gave me back the rock, winked and smiled, and I left it to do its thing until the next day. Boy, did that feel good. The next day the noise returned, so Mom took the car back to the mechanic this time. The mechanic found nothing wrong with it, and quote, couldn't hear any noise, neither the plumber nor I both for the car or making it run less well, so nothing needed to be fixed. I moved out when I was 16 to live with my dad, but the clink remained, annoying my mom every time she drove the car. I lost track of how many times she took it to the repair shop and how much she spent to get rid of the clink. When I last saw my mom, she was driving the same car, which surprised me because I had assumed the rock would have disappeared by then. Thank you, Tom. So we're going to keep clinking for 10 years to drive this awful woman crazy? Given that she was putting you through a lot, that seems like a pretty small way to get even. I know that the rock is pretty amazing. Though it sounds like you're no longer with that awful woman, we can only hope that stays the case. The narrator also thought that her smaller side point about the mother and sister bonding over horses sounded like something she had heard before. The author from our movie called my mom canceled my birthday and gave my sister 2 birthday parties instead, just to punish me is here, he checks. It kind of blows my mind. Based on what we know about the mom from the first story, she probably deserved to be treated this way. I wonder how many more stories about her behavior and her daughter's retaliation will surface. I mean, out of all the writing on the web, I guess you should keep your eyes open for more. In this story, Karen gets upset and claims that her child is gay. I've heard a lot of stories on this channel, but I've never really gone through anything like what I hear about here. Since I became a parent, though, I seem to be drawn to Karen. In this story, Karen and I are in a baby room and feeding area. Kathy is crazy. While I was changing my 5-month-old son, he had a big poop explosion that went all the way up his back. Oh. I looked in my baby bag and saw a pink bodysuit with only pink socks left. We were shocked to learn we were having a boy, so I saved most of our daughter's belongings. I do use some things for him, like socks and a few natural pink onesies. He was wearing his pink trousers and socks when a woman approached me while he was eating and enjoying himself. She was sitting across from me during her meal. What a cute kid. Her name is Jonathan. Karen made the shocked Pikachu face. I don't mind that he's gay, I don't care that he's gay. Care. It's okay, I promise. My son got upset and I packed up our belongings and left. Karen said the last thing she wanted to say, which was, "You and your gay son should go away." That really blew my mind. I'm not sure why anyone thinks that's acceptable. All right, now it's my turn to vent. Lastly, her baby was clearly a straight baby because it was dressed in black and white stripes. Wow, do we really need to argue about who the jerk is in this story? Okay, let me clarify. Karen isn't a good person. All right, woman, stop watching Fox News and stop thinking that the gay movement is teaching our children to be gay. Also, change your baby's prison stripe outfit. That makes me angry. I wonder if you believe that patterns and color schemes can dictate to your children what they should do with their lives. These people are terrible. Remember that she was also really kind and thought the baby was adorable until she realized that it didn't fit the gender color rules she had established. Pardon me while I hunt for my best salmon shirt. After you sign up, click the bell to enable notifications. Play the music in the background while you finish reading all of the stories. If you